Yay, we're live. Hi, everybody. Welcome y bienvenidos to Presently Aquí. Today, I will be hosting two incredible women to talk about mindful parenting and its benefits. So exciting. So, as usual, I like to introduce Presently Aquí for those of you joining me for the first time. I created Presently Aquí to serve as a platform for the Latino community and friends to discover for the first time or dive deeper into mindfulness. And for me, it's a passion, obviously, but I feel like it's such an instrumental part to our mental health. It's a tool that will help all of us navigate our everyday worries and help us through this annoying anxiety because of the pandemic that's still happening. Well, slowly but surely we'll get there. Additionally, I love mindfulness because it allows us to stay in the present moment, and that's where the magic lies. By understanding ourselves better, we create an awareness inside that becomes the first step and foundation to self love. And as always, I love to ask all of you, how are you feeling at this very moment? It doesn't matter if you're anything from happy to sad. I want you to just acknowledge your feeling and know that it's okay wherever you stand and that you are enough and that you are loved. And a quick reminder that this is an interactive live session, so please join in on the conversation. And of course, parents, if you're out there, if you have questions for Danielle and Cynthia, I highly recommend you do ask while we're on this wonderful live session. So without further ado, my first guest is the lovely Cynthia Pearson. Cynthia is a career rights and advocate that's been, I'm sorry, I apologize. Cynthia is a career victims rights advocate that has spent 12 years in the court system supporting trauma victims and developing trauma informed programs. Yeah, I'm sorry that was a mouthful because she is a freaking chingona. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot. Oh, hey Cynthia. Well,
Hi.
hi, welcome. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having us in this space. I'm glad to be here, ready to have some great conversations. Yes, it is a mouthful. I've been around the block a little bit.
I mean, you have and proud of it, right? It's you've been doing, as some people would call it, God's work, right? I think so.
Thank you.
And our next guest is Danielle. Danielle is, I've been in my webinars and always joining me if she's not a part of it. I love her support so much. Danielle is a yoga teacher, mindfulness and meditation expert, public school leader, and educator. She is the co-founder of the Namaste Project, which you can follow her on Instagram. Yay! Hey, Danielle.
Hey, how are you guys doing? It's so nice to be here.
Yeah, nice to have you. How are you feeling today?
Good. Hanging in there with all the
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. So I know for those of us joining us for the first time, this is our second installment on our mindful parenting sessions. And the first one we went through briefly, right? What Danielle and Cynthia offer in the workshop and some questions that were brought up by the audience. So today, Cynthia and Danielle wanted to talk about screen time, right?
Mhm.
And how that's affecting our children, right? And their mindfulness state, right? What Cynthia, what have you noticed? As I know your child is just a toddler, but I'm sure the screen time will increase as he gets older, right? What are some precautions you're taking now for your toddler to kind of ease that back or dial it back or control it before it gets crazy?
Yeah, and it's really hard, and I think there isn't necessarily a black and white solution or answer necessarily, because I think we have to really, parents need to consider all circumstances and what works for their families, right? But for our household with a toddler, we're trying to create more of a schedule and try to be very strategic about when the screen time is introduced or a tablet is even introduced, because we know that in many research has shown that there has been some effects in brain development when electronics are introduced at a very early age. And just even if, and I invite everyone in the audience to really research and speak to their pediatricians and and kind of look into these recommendations that are provided by the American Pediatric Association, because they do mention that, no more than an hour for our young children a day, because in their time, it's kind of like when they say dog lives, like 1 year of dog life is like 7 years in human life.
Yeah.
Well, 1 year of screen time is almost like a lifetime for kids,
Right.
It really has an impact, and I'm just exaggerating a bit, but, it just has a significant impact in their brain development because they're just sponges, and we really want to take advantage of the time when they're young to really engage with them, to build these strong connections emotionally, but also connections with their physical environment, connecting them with different activities that really engage all parts of the brain, all that language development, the sensory development. It's so crucial. But it's one part of the conversation. The other part of the conversation too is we are also in a world that it's very difficult to not have electronics in our home. And we are obviously, a lot of us are working from home. So we have computers out at all times during the day, or we're working from our phones. I know that's my reality. And so it's not that we're trying to hide it from, our son, but that we really try to create a schedule so that he knows there's playtime. There might be some time where a screen or a tablet is helpful for us to just catch a break, or even for him to play with some puzzles that are helpful. So it's not like he's just like sitting in front of TV mindlessly.
Right.
So there's some action going on. There's some connection that's happening. And, we're trying to use it to our advantage. Yeah. But I know for parents of different ages, that suggested time frame is expanded or extended. So, up to 2-3 hours, et cetera. And I'm sure, Danielle has a number of tips on that too. But when you talk about conversations with older children, we really need to think about like tech safety. Now we're really looking into like what apps are on the, phones or on the tablets, what programs are already pre-downloaded or what they have access to. So yeah, we get into a lot of this in our mindful parenting program. And we're working with a young lady who's an expert in the cyber world. And, she has a lot of wonderful tips too. But the idea is that we just have to think about what's best for our families and be conscious of the neurological and brain development that's happening with our children.
Yeah, I mean, that's wonderful. It's so, so important. Actually, 2 questions came up while you were talking about screen time and how important it is and how it affects a child's development. First one was, Danielle has older children. Do you get, I'm sure parents out there get, well, you're on it. What about that? Like, always pointing at you. Well, you're doing this. What about, that's not fair. How do you deal with that, Danielle?
It just happened to me yesterday. I have my kids on a 2-day, absolutely nothing, because they had a little too much. And I think I love Cynthia because she's so great at giving me like all the things I've read about in like this really digestible format. But a lot of times when I'm sharing with parents, I'm like, also, these are all the science, but just think about your own home. Okay. So for me, if my kids are watching TV more often, they have a lot more trouble with controlling their emotions, and they have outbursts, and they just don't behave as well. It's just, it's an obvious change in their behavior. My kids are 6, 8, and then I have a 17-year-old part-time. And it's like a huge shift. So I've told my children, I'm like, especially my youngest, I'm like, you are addicted to TV. He gets so upset when we have to stop. But I took them off for 2 days because we were traveling, and they spent the last day with my mom. And, she's older. So she's like, here, take this iPad for 5 hours. And I'm just like, ah. So it was really, I've been watching the Mindy Project, y'all. Don't judge me. I'm having a screaming. I didn't watch TV for 2 weeks. I was reading. I was relaxing. So I explained that to them. I said, yeah, I know you're right. I am watching TV today and you're not. But I also am a grown up, and I know how to take breaks and I talked to them about their behavior. I was like, do you see me crying and yelling at your father and at you and having these like emotional breakdowns that you legitimately are having when you watch a lot of TV? And I try to bring their attention to it because kids are smarter than we think. I love Cynthia when I see her interacting with her 2-year-old because she talks to him in a very mature way. So I do the same thing. My kids are older and I just explain it to them. I'm like, do you notice this? Are you aware of this? And my daughter, she's like, well, I don't act like that. I just turn it off when my 30 minutes is up. So I let her have it when he went to bed. Don't tell anyone, y'all. But I think it's just being honest with them. We just have to let them know why. Explain. I always tell my kids when they get mad at me, that sometimes adults get more of something than a kid because we have bigger bodies or we have a bigger attention span, and we know how to handle things, and just let them know my job is to keep them safe and to teach them. And, I love you. So obviously I'm not going to do something just to be a jerk. And they're kind of like, yeah, you're right. You do love me, so just explain to them, because our old school idea is because I said so. And that's really not what we want. And that's something we talk about a lot in all aspects of mindful parenting. Stop doing that. Stop saying, because I said so. Take the time to explain to your child why, the reasoning, and help them understand. It's hard, especially with older kids, because they want to talk to their friends all the time. So we actually have a free ebook on how to limit screen time without going crazy on our site, because a lot of times for parents, it is legitimately a babysitter sometimes. And that's okay here and there. Full disclosure, I told my kids they could watch TV today the only time during their 2-day break, so I could come and talk with y'all because no one's here, and I needed to know they wouldn't interrupt, right? So sometimes we use it and it becomes too much of a crutch for us as parents. So how can you break that habit without going insane? But I will tell y'all, just from a whole day of no TV. Last night, my kids were running around and pretending to be animals. And I was telling my husband, I was like, look at the imagination just coming out. So they get mad at you sometimes when you try to take it away, but it's pretty quick when you start to see they entertain themselves pretty well without it. You just have to kind of take the jump. And everyone I talk to has told me that. They're like, oh my God, he stopped throwing so many tantrums. He's sleeping better. He's doing this. He's doing that. So I recommend just try it for a few days. It's one of those things that's immediate that you'll notice the change in your kid's behavior.
Right. Yeah, I can only imagine. I think for the most part, all three of us grew up with it. Just started. We barely got Nintendo and Sega and huge phones and then beepers, right? So we were in the beginning stages, and it was all about going outside and inventing a game with your friends. So it's hard right now to shift. They're born in technologically era where it's there, and then as they get older, like you're saying, like they're friends and they want to FaceTime each other and all this stuff. And I'm sure you get this question a lot from parents, especially with teenagers, right? Now that you want to implement this now new to their lives that they've never been controlled in. What are some recommended tricks, I guess, for a teenager, right? Because that's, I would say, the most difficult one, to just like, I'm going to start now to limit their screen time, and they're already kind of individuals, right? They're like, so how do you, like a trick that could possibly help a parent kind of start in controlling their screen time?
I was going to say, one of the things that actually works for both younger children and for older children is timers. Timing is, first off, it is definitely a difficult framework to explain for younger children, because they have a difficulty understanding the sense of time, that things begin and return, or they can be put aside, all of that. But it's a really great way to reintroduce the concept of time with something like they really enjoy. Like maybe they do enjoy this tablet or watching this particular, cartoon or whatever. Same thing for the older children. Maybe they really like these games and they have, challenges that they want to meet. Well, if you introduce timing early on and come to an agreement, as you remember, building relationships with our children. So we're having like more of a little bit of a collaborative conversation and saying, well, look, I think 30 minutes or an hour, whatever, whoever, the age appropriate time. Is what we're going to agree to. So when you see this timer go off, and it might be like an old school like wind up timer, or it's an alarm clock, whatever it is, that you all agree that when that timer goes off, then the TV or the tablet or whatever they're doing also turns off. And then also ask them, what would you like to do after it ends? And then start to ask, what are some things that might be interesting for them to engage with? Maybe they want to journal. Maybe they want to draw artwork about what they may have learned, or maybe their experience during that game session, or, whatever it is. But something that allows them to be in control or feel like they are a part of the process. So it's not so much of like this takeaway and I'm going to be this, as authoritative figure and not consider my feelings. Like, you're still providing the structure and the necessary moments of guidance as a parent, but you're also engaging with them in a way that supports their interest, but then also makes them feel like, okay, I know I have this designated time for me. It's like my me time, and it really builds like this muscle of confidence with you as the parent, but also with themselves, that they have sense of control.
And also, I'm sure it lessens that power struggle that does happen, right? Yeah. Danielle, did you want to add anything?
I mean, I think it's similar to the things we put in place for ourselves when you have older kids too. Like, I have my phone set where I get 20 minutes of social media on my phone a day, and then like the little thing grays out. So if I want to use it more, I have to put a code in. I have to like consciously do something. So you can set that, and you have the choice to give your child the code or not. That works on all the, I'm assuming Android does this. I'm a Mac person, but you can set limits there. You can also do this grayscale on your devices. So it's not as appealing to you visually, because it lowers the amount of like colors that are coming in. So that way you don't even want to look at it as often. So those are things we recommend for adults as well as kids. And then just having a box that everyone puts their devices in. Modeling is huge. I was just telling you guys before we started, I just came back from, holiday, and I was just, this is a pet peeve of mine, and in the yoga and in my whole like, don't judge people thing. But when I go out to eat and I see people on their phone at dinner tables and kids watching devices, I'm just like, because I feel like they're missing out on this wonderful opportunity to engage. And, eating is such a wonderful, mindful activity with your family or with your friends. So just showing them that. So if you're a parent and you're always on your device, I remember before I started being aware, and my daughter, she's 9 now, she would take the phone from me, and she was 1 or 2, and put it away. Like, they don't want you to be on it, but the more you do it, the more they do. So I think everybody puts their things away. And I have to talk to my husband about this. I'm like, please stop watching TV. Please do this, because they're going to do what your household is doing. So we have to also, sacrifice. And you'll notice your own increase in mental health and well-being when you limit your screen time as well. It can be hard. It's real addictive, that Instagram scroll, so just all those limits. The great thing about technology is it builds that in. So I really recommend people taking advantage of all of those built-in. It just shuts down. Sometimes it's a little hard for me. You can even set hours. So I'm like, between 9 and 3, the only thing my phone will do is let me make phone calls so I can focus on work. And it's just so many tools you guys have at your hands that you can easily apply for you and for your older kids. And then don't give them the code. And then you talk to them about it, but you're like, I can't give you the code either. Because my stepson, because we don't have complete control over him. Obviously, he's not with us 24/7. And I'm like, you have got to put your phone. I understand your friend, but it's okay. They will be okay. You can message them in a couple of hours. Be here. Be present with us, and trying to explain that. And I think it's just applying mindfulness to your whole life will help you with that. Your kids too. It's a shift. It's a challenge, and I encourage parents. It doesn't always work, and there will be days where we will want to veg out and just watch TV and chill all day, and that's okay, right? You don't have to beat yourself up. We're talking about overall limiting, but if you have a Saturday where you and your kids want to like binge watch all the Toy Stories, knock yourself out, but just don't do that every single day is the point.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and another tip too, if you are binge watching or if you are actually watching TV with your child or your children, talk to them about the scenes.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm.
or even with younger ones. So sometimes he'll want to see some Paw Patrol. And, I'll say, "Oh, do you see the yellow bulldozer? Where's your bulldozer?" And he'll go find his bulldozer and, show it. So you can use that time to still be engaging and, activate some of these other sensory areas of the brain, and then activate language. So, there's ways that you can still be present, even
Mhm.
if there's some screen time going on.
I love
Yeah.
that.
I love that. Yeah, that's awesome. And also you're bonding at the same time, right? You're
Yeah,
watching this together and it'll feel like, oh, mom likes this too, or dad likes
exactly.
this too, right?
Yeah, you build
Versus,
a relationship, you build some connection. And the other thing too, like there's that part where we have to pay attention to sometimes of these cartoons are saying a little crazy things. I think
yeah,
I heard
right.
somewhere where like the writers of some of these cartoons
Mm-hmm.
or movies really write for the parents, but
Mm-hmm.
like visually it's for the children. So yeah, it's a good our time to really
Mm-hmm.
pay attention to what
Yeah.
they're hearing or what, scenarios are being played out as well.
Right. And it's funny because that is true. I watch cartoons. I don't have children, but I love cartoons. And there is a lot of, and I feel like what you're saying, they don't know, right? But the teenager will know.
Right.
Eventually, I think a 17-year-old will definitely catch on, like, what did they just say?
Yeah.
And then that's when you're like, oh, maybe this is not, you can't be watching this anymore. And it's really difficult, right? Because I think at that age, they're listening to their friends more, right, than you at all. And like I think Danielle was saying that when you give them parameters and take the phone away and put it in a box, their life is over. Oh, I can't talk to my friend, my life is over. But as a parent, um you also have to understand that the world is small, that's you, the house, and there are a few friends. There's not much going on. So yeah, the world is over because it's a small bubble. And I wanted to ask, the free ebook, is it on the trauma and consulting um
It's on
website?
mindfulparentingprogram.com.
Oh,
If
okay.
you go to mindfulparentingprogram.com, it will take you to that page, and it will be a pop-up window that will get you straight to it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the same page for the course, which
Mm,
if you guys are interested, we run a course. We've shifted it a little to make it a little more asynchronous because parents are busy.
mm,
But the code Aqui will still work for the discount for any upcoming parenting courses. And if you're on your phone, the pop-up might not be there, but you'll see it. Pop your email in, and it comes right to your inbox. And it's got some stuff that you would think we already know, and just ideas about things that kids can do outside of it. But then again, that come back to how can I do it in a way that is also serving me as a parent, because that is really honestly a big reason that we see an increase in screen time, is because it's very helpful for parents to have something for kids to do. You just mentioned growing up, we only have one TV in my house, and my dad
mm.
was like in charge of it. So I didn't really have as much opportunity, but now there's just so many things for the kids to watch. So giving them other activities is really huge, and they like it. My kids had so much fun pretending to be wild animals last night. It was
Ah,
by themselves. They come in, they're like, can I be the tamer? And I'll just be like, do this. And then they run right off and keep playing again. You just have
right.
to kind of push them to do it. So I'm all for taking the break,
Yeah.
even though sometimes it puts a little more work on me.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
I would say like this is a time where we could lean into our kind of old school parenting styles where you like hear the pot in the pan, like here's a bag of rice, like here's some water in a
Mhm.
bucket, or go play in the dirt. Those things that we had, easy access to. They're
Yeah.
like really big commodities right now for parents. I mean, you can buy a bazillion toys or have family buy a bazillion toys. But the reality is we know that for the younger kids, they'll play with that for like an hour or maybe a day at most, and then they're on to the next. Because,
Right.
but I think the creativity piece that we're talking about and the idea of using things that are already in our household really benefit us, benefit our wallets, but also really help engage children in a whole other level that supports long-term growth and supports long-term access to that frontal lobe and, the axis of our brains that really are dynamic when it comes to emotions and creativity and really being consciously aware of things.
Yeah, I think that's so big. And what's exciting is that, both of you have been doing mindful parenting for your own children. And I'm really excited to see when they become adults, because there aren't many parents doing this, right? Because this is all new. And the few that are, those are the kids I want to meet. Like, how did that really reflect the nourishment and the mindfulness of being presently there for your children, and paying attention and bonding and creating all this wonderful, this strong foundation, right, for them. So when they're adults, they're able to have that emotional intelligence, be mindful of others, and all these wonderful self-awareness tools. I'm looking forward to seeing them as mini adults when they're at least 20, and just see where that goes, because 20 years still growing. But I think then, once all of this, through time with the both of you, I'm really excited personally to see these little adults. Like, yeah, also it'll come out, right? They'll say things to their friends eventually, that like, actually, maybe we shouldn't speak to each other this way, or there are better ways to come across, or whatever it is, mindfully. I'm sure you both and your husbands are gonna be just crying, to see them put into place all this beauty that you've put into their hearts and their minds. And it makes a world of a difference, because, like I said, it's gonna spread out. It's gonna affect their friends, and then family is gonna see it. So it's beautiful work you both are doing, and that I'm always here to support. I would love to talk about this once a week, honestly, because I feel like mindfulness in a whole is important, but I feel like mindful parenting should be on the forefront of mindfulness, right? I feel like that should be the first, and then we could talk about mindfulness and all the other wonderful things. But I feel like if we all collectively could somehow build a school and start a mindfulness school, and just let that fire grow somehow. But I wanted to make sure, you said it was mindfulparenting.com?
Mindfulparentingprogram.com.
Okay, perfect. Because I wanted to put it on the screen here so everyone can go on and get their free ebook. And
to your point too about for parents, our mindful parenting is such a big concept that really needs to be emphasized. I think that, or we think that a lot of the reasons, or even just the benefits behind mindful parenting, has so much to do about how we were parented and the experiences that we lived as children. And so through this work, it's not just work that you're obviously partaking with your family to really connect with your children, but you're also being really reflective of yourself and how you were as a child and the experiences that you had. So it serves both the child and the parent, and obviously the family, dynamic, and then further on, obviously communities and at large, and it spreads like, ripple effect. So it is very much a practice that impacts more than just the child. And it's really reflective for parents to really engage in areas that they may not have acknowledged or may not have known were present. Right. And sort of confronting that in a really healthy way and accessing resources that benefit them, that serves us as human beings. We're individuals first, parents second, and other identities, from there. So, it's a really great practice that we take very seriously, but we also know like there are moments where it's not going to come out perfect, but we're just trying to be mindful about it.
Right. And here we have what you have going on right now, and the free ebook is going to be here on the right hand side, parents, right?
And we have another group coming up. So our sessions, you know this, Claudia, are very much come together, learn on your own through the LMS, and then we come into groups and discuss with other parents, similarly to kind of what we're doing here today, by giving people an opportunity to share. But yeah, we're also trying to get something else. We'll share it with you next time. Another freebie, because I'm all about the free things. But you know, I was thinking when Cynthia was just speaking, I know that you meditate, right, Claudia? And you know, when you hit that moment, it's just rare where we're just totally there and you're just so happy and you're like, oh man, I'm here in this exact moment. You know, sometimes for me, the mindful parenting becomes really selfish because it puts me in that place with my kids, like where I'm so present with them that I get that really joyful, blissful feeling. And it doesn't have, you know, you want to cling to it, but you have to let it go and be there and just enjoy it. And that's one of the big things about it is it's all these things we talk about, but it's also just the simple act of just being exactly where you are with your kids, because the big expression is, you know, like the days are long, but the years are short, and it just flies by. And we want to, as parents, enjoy it. And I found, and I don't know, I'm sure Cynthia, I feel I can speak, would say the same, that I enjoy parenting a lot more, and I enjoy spending time with my kids a lot more now because I'm more present and our engagements are more authentic. And while it felt like a lot of work at first, now it's so easy and it's so nice. So it's definitely worth the effort.
That is beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. And it's great too that you pointed out that the growth is also going to affect you, right? It's not about just here's what I'm going to teach my children. It's also going to affect you in a beautiful way, and you start to change and grow, and the relationship, right, between you and your child or children will also grow and change, and the bond will become stronger. And I feel like that comes with respect too, naturally, right? Yeah, so it's beautiful. It's so beautiful, and I look forward to, you know, the next one and the next one and the next one, and with you ladies. And I'm always here at your service. And I wanted to just share with everyone, where can they find you both?
Yeah, so again, mindfulparentingprogram.com is our site for the parenting course. We're also on Instagram. I'm at Cynthia_TCC. And Danielle's also on Instagram. She's at Joseya. I always have to say it like in pause, but SOYELLA.
I am her. I am her. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, yeah, you can connect with us there. We have a bunch of resources that we post also on social media, but certainly you can find us at mindfulparentingprogram.com.
Fantastic. Any last words that you want to share with parents?
I would say just be patient. You know, mindful parenting, and even talking about screen time, it's like a muscle we have to exercise. So, and as Danielle mentioned, at first it feels laborious, but then it becomes just like muscle memory, and you don't even realize you're doing it. You know, so it's a great way to really engage with our kids, and we'll be okay. We will all be okay.
Yes, we will, and they have your support. So like they just both express how you can find them. So if you have questions, feel free to reach out to them. If you can't find them, I have their program on my bio, on my link tree. So you just click and it'll take you directly to their website. And are we still applying the promo code for our parents?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. So again, the promo code is Aqui. That's it, AQUI. And I am looking forward to the next time we both speak, and for the growth and development of the workshop as you keep growing together. And again, it's my honor to have you both on here. So thank you again for coming on and sharing the space with me.
Thanks for having us. Thank you so much.
Thanks for just all the work you do. I love what you put out. So it's really wonderful. Not just for like the Latinx community, but just in general. So we're really grateful for you to help us, spread the message to people.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for saying that. And it's beautiful to hear feedback It fills me, and it's hard to hold back the tears. So I appreciate you both. Yeah, thank you both, and thank you to the audience and all the parents that showed up today. Even if you don't apply or join, it's a lot that you even came on and watched and wanted to learn a little bit. It's a lot. It's a beginning step, and we'll take it. So we look forward to the next time. And again, my usual, remember that the breath is always the secret, and always lead with love. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.